Welcome back to mirrortalk Soulful Conversations, and welcome back to this series of solo episodes that is from our book. Inspired by our book Confessions, which is going to be out on the 1st of November 2023. In the last episode, we visited a part of Tom's life. Tom is a friend of ours. We looked at the reasons behind Tom's failed relationships and emotional disconnection. In this episode, we're going to open up with Tom sitting in an airplane for the very first time in his life. He was 16 years old and had barely ever left his parents' home. It was a new adventure for him, and this was a very big risk for him, considering his fear of leaving his comfort zone, his fear of heights, and his fear of being trapped or confined to a space. Claustrophobia. Yeah, that's claustrophobia, right? Yeah, claustrophobia. On this very fateful day, he hugged his mother goodbye at the airport as he went through the security checks before boarding the plane. Excitement, expectations, exhilaration. That's all he felt as he sat tight, trying to enjoy the moment and the first time experience. He tightly held his seat and closed his eyes to say a word of prayer as the plane took off. 30 minutes into the flight, Tom opened his eyes to chaos on the plane. The aircraft was experiencing terrible turbulence, which was rocking it. A lot of the passengers were screaming at the top of their lungs. Everyone was calling on his or her God. The Christians were pleading for the blood of Jesus. The Muslims were calling on Allah, and the traditionalists were doing their own thing also. Tom was so terrified to the extent that he became speechless. The blood of Jesus. Are we getting out of this alive? Tom asked himself. He somehow had the assurance that they would survive. But as the condition worsened and the aircrew and pilots themselves became unsure, Tom started reflecting on his life. What kind of life has he led so far? He had mainly lived his life pleasing his parents and pleasing his community members, never wanting to step on anyone's toes, never wanting to confront or to be confronted. All he had ever done was stay in a corner, kill his shine, and sacrifice his happiness for the peace and the approval of others. Seated in the rocking seat of the aircraft, he realized that none of the people he had been killing himself to please would come to his rescue at that moment. He realized that no one might even notice that he was gone. At that moment, he realized that he had to get out of the situation of being locked up in a closet or drawer just because he's trying to conform to the norm of the society. He realized that he had to live a life that was true to himself. A life of happiness, a life of peace, a life of fulfillment, and a life of true, pure joy. He had to come out of his shell and truly express himself. But he asked himself, what about if it would be difficult for him to get out of the people-pleasing condition alive? Would he survive people judging him? Would he survive being casted out? Or will he survive being rejected for expressing his true self? A 45-minute flight turned out to a 6-hour flight because of bad weather conditions and horrible landing conditions. The aircraft had to wait in the air for hours, engage in an emergency landing, and also wait at a foreign airport in order to refuel and recheck engine conditions. In this first-time flying experience, Tom became traumatized of flying, but after the plane finally landed at its destination, he learned that the turbulence was a metaphor for the storms of life. No condition is permanent. The experience gave him the courage to get out of his shell and to take necessary steps towards living a more fulfilled life. From his story, I learned not to be scared of what the world will say about me. People's judgment is based on their perspective and their own knowledge. No one knows it all. No one is perfect. It's important to live a life that is true to the core of your essence. So, what is your essence? Do not lock yourself up or limit yourself due to the norms of the society. Feel free to express yourself for who you are. Take up as much space as necessary and keep on spreading love and joy in the world. We are not getting out of this life alive, but we will surely always get out of every difficult situation stronger and alive. Just believe that. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and I hope that you were able to learn one or two things like I was able to learn from Tom's story also. Tom's story inspired the build up of some characters that is included in our book called Confessions, which will be available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and other platforms from the 1st of November 2023. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you share it with your loved ones. You stay subscribed and you keep on listening for more soulful conversations. Thank you so much. And one more thing, remember that this episode was recorded on riverside.fm. Riverside is a platform which you could use to record high quality videos, even in studio quality. Click on the link in the show notes of this episode to try out Riverside now for free.